Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for today's webinar. Today's presentation is called Referring to Mutual Support Groups, Distinguishing Between the Choices. My name is Misty Story, and I'm the Director of Training for NAADAC, the Association for Addiction Professionals, and I'll be the organizer for today's event. Before we get started, I want to review a few housekeeping items and let you know how you can best participate in today's web event. The tool we're using for today's presentation is called GoToWebinar. The GoToWebinar control panel you see on the right of your screen can be minimized and expanded by pressing the orange arrow. Doing this will allow you to see your entire screen during the presentation. You can always reopen it by pressing the orange arrow again. This presentation is being recorded and will be posted on our website for later viewing. I will send you a link to the recording later today if everything goes as planned. Otherwise, it will be just as soon as possible. All attendees for the live broadcast have entered in listen-only mode. This means that your microphones are muted, so we will not be able to hear you during the presentation. However, you have the ability to send questions to our staff or to the presenter through the questions pane during the presentation. Simply type in your question and click send. Due to time restraints, we will not be able to answer your questions live during the presentation, but we will collect your questions and post answers on our website. If you're using your computer speakers to listen in today and are having trouble getting the volume higher, I recommend switching to a phone line. We have no control over the volume output, but this switch seems to solve most problems. Also, during the presentation, you'll be asked to participate in some audience polling questions. To respond, simply click on the answer of your choice on the screen. If you wish to download the PowerPoint outline for this presentation, you can do so from our website that's on your screen. Click on the title of today's webinar and then click PowerPoint Slides. Today's webinar is made possible through the collaboration of NAADAC, the Association for Addiction Professionals, and Smart Recovery. This webinar is one in many in our 2012 webinar series. NAADAC is striving to provide you with continuing education that is convenient, relevant, free, and of the highest quality. We hope we meet your expectations today. The content for today's webinar was jointly developed by these collaborating organizations, as well as the Big Initiative and Smart Recovery, which is why you see all of those logos along the side. As I just mentioned, the education delivered in today's webinar is free to all professionals. If you wish to receive CE credit for participating, you must pass the online CE quiz that is located at the web address on your screen. One CE is free to all NAADAC members and AccuCare subscribers who participate in this webinar. And non-members of NAADAC or non-subscribers of AccuCare receive one CE for $15. This includes everyone, those who are logged in today for the live event, as well as those who have downloaded the archived version. Either way, you are eligible to receive CE credit for participating in this webinar. After you pass the online CE quiz, a certificate of completion will be emailed to you within 21 days of submission. That's usually a lot sooner. And just to be crystal clear out there, successfully passing the CE quiz is the only way to receive a CE certificate. So what are we going to cover today? By the end of the webinar, you will have a better understanding of explaining the difference between mutual support group options and referring clients to appropriate mutual support groups based on their needs and linking those clients to mutual support groups. So obviously we have a lot to cover in the next hour. So with that said, let me tell you a little bit about our presenter today. Sherry Allwood, who's photographed with her granddaughter Sydney, is the Executive Director of Smart Recovery, which is a not-for-profit organization whose purpose is to help individuals gain independence from addictive behaviors and live a balanced life. Smart Recovery believes in supporting the availability of choice in recovery programs. Sherry joins us to represent a wide variety of mutual support groups and explain how each may appeal to individuals with differing needs or beliefs. So we're really delighted to have Sherry with us today. So without further ado, Sherry, if you're ready, I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you so much, Misty. Can you hear me okay? I'm going to assume so. Okay, great. Thank you again, Misty, and good afternoon. I am truly honored to be with you today. As Misty mentioned, I had the pleasure of presenting this topic last year to some employee assistance program professionals, and I was really delighted when Misty offered me the opportunity to repeat the presentation for you NAADAC members. As a little bit of a disclaimer, I am not actually a treatment professional, but I've had the pleasure of working for Smart Recovery for 18 years, and I have witnessed many, many changed lives. And actually the same can be said for each of the mutual support groups that we're going to review today. This truly is not a competition, but a means of reaching people who have a variety of needs and beliefs. And I'm very proud to represent my colleagues from a variety of mutual support group programs. So let's go ahead and begin. Oops, let me see here. Sorry, I have to click that twice. There we go. We're going to begin with an introduction to mutual support groups. And the first time I read the sentence that's on the top of your screen there, I thought that there had to be a typo. Somebody had their fingers on the wrong keys, because you'll see that it reads, for more than 250 years, Americans with alcohol and other drug problems have banded together for mutual support and recovery. And I was like, 250, I know AA just recently celebrated 75 years. How can this possibly be? But it's actually true. And as early as the 1730s, there were Native Americans who organized abstinence-based recovery circles. So for over 250 years, mutual support groups have been active and have been helping people. Quite often, participation in a mutual support group will be enough to help an individual to obtain sobriety, and then others will benefit from a combination of support groups and counseling, or support groups and treatment. But the opportunity to meet with others who have like minds and similar struggles and be able to share ideas and experiences within a mutual support group is really highly helpful. And now let's explore why. Each mutual support group that we're going to review today provide a multitude of free resources. They have free meetings and free online services. Now, each of these groups also sell publications, reading materials, videos, etc., but they do offer free meetings. Each of us, though, pass a hat at a meeting, and we collect voluntary donations. And you might often hear mutual support groups referred to as self-help groups, mutual aid groups, mutual help groups. Those are sort of interchangeable descriptions, but each support group is based on the assumption that change can result from a group of people who are together sharing their common problems, their experiences, and their feelings. And then the participants are encouraged to identify with the emotions of the other members and then to use this commonality to motivate them to change their behavior. Now, groups generally don't have limitations on who can attend, but the concept is that everyone has to have a genuine desire to rid their life of the problematic behavior. Now, in addition to being free and to providing an opportunity for individuals to learn from each other, there are some other really important additional benefits that are available to your clients. All of the recovery support groups we're going to review today, and any that are in existence, will provide the following benefits. Each will contain members who have transformed their lives using the group's key ideas and methods. And learning from each other's successes and taking tips from each other can really help to motivate somebody to change their behavior and to emulate the others in the group who have been successful. So in other words, these groups provide a rationale for dramatically altering one's pattern of alcohol or other drug consumption. Every group provides the opportunity to enhance self-esteem. Oftentimes people are thinking, why me? How did I come to develop a problem with my relationship with alcohol or other drugs? And they're very much self-downing. And then they'll go to a support group meeting and they're going to see all sorts of talented and gifted people who have very much the same experience. So it helps them to boost their self-esteem when they participate in support groups. And then each of the groups is going to provide daily prescriptions for recovery maintenance. You'll find as we go through this that some of the groups provide steps, some provide tools, but all of the mutual support groups encourage and provide information to their members to help them maintain their sobriety. And importantly, each and every group creates a social linkage. Participation in a support group provides individuals with strength and hope, and they are exposed to personal stories in the lives of other people in recovery, and that can really serve as a catalyst for personal transformation. And also, interestingly, when people are heavy into addictions, they often have turned within versus reaching out. And so they're often anxious about any sort of social interaction, and participating in a support group allows for a very safe environment to begin to interact socially with others. Now, there is a really extensive body of research that supports the effectiveness of mutual support groups. We could spend the whole hour on this, but I'm going to just really lightly touch on a few today, some of the big highlights of some past studies. Studies have found that participation in recovery mutual support groups during and following addiction treatment will enhance the long-term recovery outcomes. It will reduce the continuing care costs, and it will reduce post-treatment health care costs. So that's critical. But in addition, recovery support group participation studies have shown that participation is linked to increased global health and functioning. So that means people who go to support groups have improved physical, emotional, relational, and occupational health and functioning. And they also have a reduced mortality rate, and it's especially true with the rate of suicide. Suicide rates drop based on people's participation in mutual support groups. So mutual support groups are so integral to the recovery process that it's often advantageous for you to try to link people to recovery support groups prior to even linking them to treatment. And again, I want to say that's not to say that some won't benefit from both mutual support groups and treatment, but for some, just attending a self-recovery or self-help recovery meeting will do the trick. Okay, so now it's time for our first quick poll, one of three. This is where you're going to have an opportunity to briefly interact. And I'm wondering if you found it helpful to know a bit about the history, for example, that self-help meetings have been happening for 250 years, and the fact that research has shown that mutual support groups have a positive impact on people in recovery. So you can select yes, no, or I haven't decided yet if that's been helpful. And while you're thinking about that, I want to mention, I don't know if you're familiar with a gentleman by the name of Bill White, but he is an addiction and recovery historian, and he has a really fascinating book called Slaying the Dragon, The History of Addiction Treatment and Recovery in America. If you just write down Slaying the Dragon, if you're interested, you can Google that and you will you'll find that title. And we could easily spend an hour on the history as well, and I know we can because Bill has actually provided an hour presentation for our Smart Recovery online fundraiser on that subject. So again, I think that if you're interested in more history, go to Slaying the Dragon. Oh, I see Misty's been behind the scenes and doing a little magic to give us our poll outcome. Okay, thank you. I appreciate the fact to know that we're on track here. And so let's keep going. Now, I seem to have lost my little forward and backward arrow. Let's see. Let me try to move the screen up. Oh, no, I got it. Sorry. I found it. Sorry, Misty. I'm back with you. Okay, so here we go. Now let's review some of the programs that are available for your clients. And you're likely to be more familiar with some of these than others, and some of them may be totally new to you. And in this case, I'm going to pretty much directly follow the slides here because I really don't want to misspeak or misrepresent any of the programs. So let's begin. I think that if I were actually able to see you in the audience, and I asked for a show of hands as to how many of you have heard of AA or NA, I think it's pretty safe to assume that everybody's hand is going to be raised in the air, but I'd still like to just review with you their program and the 12 steps. So just a bit of background, AA was established in 1935. They are the original 12-step mutual support group. They are by far the most well-known mutual support group in the world. And they are a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength, and hope with one another so that they can solve their common problem and then help others to recover from alcoholism. Now, their only membership requirement is a desire to stop drinking. And as is the case with all of the programs, there's no dues or fees for membership. And the primary purpose is to stay sober and then help other alcoholics to achieve their sobriety. There are other fellowships that have branched off from AA, also using the 12 steps, such as Narcotics Anonymous for drug use, compulsive overeating has Overeaters Anonymous. And it's very safe to say that if you pull out your U.S. phone book, you are going to find a local listing for AA and NA, and there are likely a multitude of meetings within a very short drive and perhaps even a walk. So, and AA and NA attendance has been the standard in the U.S. addiction recovery community for several decades. Now, the program follows the 12 steps, which are: we admitted that we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. We came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. We made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him. We made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. We admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. We are entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. We humbly asked Him to remove our shortcomings. We made a list of all the persons we had harmed, and we became willing to make amends to them all. We made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. We continued to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, we promptly admitted it. We sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. And then, having had a spiritual awakening as the result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to alcoholics and to practice these principles in all of our affairs. So that is AA in a nutshell. And now let's discuss some other support group choices that are available for your clients. There are really a wide variety of programs available, and some are somewhat radically different than AA. But it's really highly important that your client finds a program that's going to be a real solid match for his or her beliefs and needs. And then it's important for you to be familiar with and to know the differences between these groups so that you can help to present the programs and options to your clients. And this is really, really key. Your client does not have to choose only one mutual support group. They are welcome to use any combination and any number of programs that they're going to find helpful to them. Speaking from Smart Recovery's side, I know that approximately a third of our Smart Recovery participants also attend AA, or they attend Smart Recovery and SOS, or Smart Recovery and Women for Sobriety, and that's really a beautiful thing. That's a very good thing. You know, there are many roads to recovery, and each individual really should feel free to choose his or her own path. So let's begin to review some of these choices in recovery programs, and we're going to start with LifeRing. They are headquartered in Oakland, California. And LifeRing was established in 1999. They offer sober, secular self-help to abstain from alcohol and non-medically indicated drugs, and they do so by relying on our own power and the support of others. And LifeRing operates according to the 3S philosophy, which includes sobriety, secularity, and self-help. LifeRing brings people together via face-to-face and online support groups. They provide sobriety tools through original publications, books, and a very interactive online resource program. Their meetings are very friendly, they're confidential, they're non-judgmental gatherings of peers, and their atmosphere is very relaxed, practical, and positive. And LifeRing is a freestanding, self-supporting, democratically run organization. And now let's talk a little bit about moderation management. And as the name implies, this is in fact not an abstinence-based program, which may cause some of you to sort of furrow your brows or wonder why on earth we would want to consider suggesting moderation management to somebody with a drinking problem. But keep in mind that you may encounter a client who is just beginning to think that drinking may be becoming an issue for him or her. And it's in those instances that moderation management can be a really great resource. And also, just up front here, let me let you know that in order to participate in MM, you have to actually have 30 days of abstinence, and that would likely root out anybody who had some real serious drinking issues. So, MM, I think I forgot to tell you, they're headquartered in Folsom, California, and they were established in 1993. They are an international mutual aid support group. They offer education, behavioral change techniques, and peer support. They are for problem drinkers who are seeking to decrease their drinking, whether that be to moderate levels or to total abstinence. And they are particularly appropriate for individuals who are non-dependents. Sometimes it can be a good first step for those who are unwilling or able to just say no, or to be willing to go to an abstinence-based program to look into and attend a moderation management meeting. And MM supports both abstinence and moderation. They know that not all clients who wish to pursue moderation are going to be successful at achieving it, but again, MM may be a support group that your client would be willing to attend. They have very concrete guidelines, limits, and techniques that give experiential information for each participant to help them discover themselves whether moderate drinking can be a viable solution for them. And MM offers a variety of behavioral methods for change. They offer guidelines for responsible drinking. They have tools to measure progress. And their approach encourages reading and discussion and assumes personal responsibility. The group support and shared experiences enhance the belief that moderate drinking is within personal control. Now, MM follows 9 steps toward moderation and positive lifestyle changes. First, you begin to attend meetings or online groups, and you learn about the program of moderation management. Then you abstain from alcoholic beverages for 30 days while you complete steps 3 through 6 during this time. So the person is now abstinent, and the first thing they do is they examine how drinking has affected their life. And then they write down their life priorities. Then they're asked to take a look at how much, how often, and under what circumstances they had been drinking. And they learn the MM guidelines and limits for moderate drinking. And this, again, is all while they're abstinent, totally abstinent. I had that backwards. So they're abstinent as they get through those steps we've just talked about. Now, that's their 30 days are up. They've followed all those prior steps, and now they're going to set moderate drinking limits, and they're going to start weekly small steps toward balance and moderation in all areas of their life, not just in drinking, but they really try to take a look at and balance and moderate their lives. And then they continue to review their progress and update their goals, and they continue to make positive lifestyle changes and attend meetings whenever the support would be helpful, or if they desire to help newcomers to the program. So it's available on face-to-face meetings in the U.S. and other countries, and in an online program, and their online program features a listserv, a forum, they have chat rooms, they have online meetings. They actually do have an abstinence group, and they have a listing of moderation-friendly therapists, and they use Abstar, the online drink counter, so that it helps people keep track of their drink totals as they're endeavoring to moderate. Okay, so that's MM in a nutshell, and now we're going to move to Smart Recovery. That's the organization that I've been affiliated with, and we are headquartered in Mentor, Ohio, which is a suburb of Cleveland. And Smart Recovery was established in 1994. We are a free abstinence-based program, and we are open to those who have chosen to abstain or those who are considering abstinence from any substance or activity addiction. So Smart Recovery is a little different in that way, in that we have people come to us who are struggling with alcohol, drugs, sexual behaviors, eating disorders. Gambling seems to be becoming more prevalent as well. SMART is an acronym which stands for Self-Management and Recovery Training. And participants learn tools for recovery that are based on the latest scientific research, and they participate in a worldwide community. In fact, we just started our first meeting in South Africa last week, so it's a growing worldwide community. Smart Recovery's purpose and methods include: we help individuals to gain independence from addictive behavior, and we help people learn how to build and maintain motivation, cope with urges, manage thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, and live a balanced life. And our efforts are based on scientific knowledge, and they evolve as scientific knowledge evolves. And then individuals who have gained independence from their addictive behavior are invited to stay involved with us to help enhance their gains, and then to reach out and help others to learn the program and tools as well. So we had AA has 12 steps, LifeRing has 3 S's, MM has 9 steps, and Smart Recovery has 4 points. Building and maintaining motivation is point 1, because really until somebody's motivated, not much is going to happen. Point 2 is coping with urges. Anybody who endeavors to cease an addictive behavior is going to have urges. Point 3 is managing thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. There are some problem-solving tools there. And then point 4 is living a balanced life. Now, each of those 4 points has some specific tools that are used within the program that people learn and implement to help them overcome their addictive behavior. And those tools include the stages of change, the change plan worksheet. We do a cost-benefit analysis with new folks, hierarchy of values. We use the ABCs of rational emotive behavioral therapy, and we use those both for urge coping and emotional upsets. We use DISARM, which is destructive irrational self-talk awareness and refusal method. It's sort of disarming that little voice in your head that keeps saying, it's okay if you just have one. And then our meetings, they often role play and rehearse. If somebody has to go to a wedding and they know there's going to be alcohol present, the group will play different roles. Somebody will be the waiter passing a tray of champagne so that the person can be prepared. They brainstorm a lot in our meetings. They practice USA, unconditional self-acceptance, and they determine vital, absorbing, creative interests to fill some of that time that was previously used drinking and using. So SMART sponsors face-to-face meetings around the world. We have daily online meetings. We have very active message boards, and we have a 24/7 chat room. That's Smart Recovery in a nutshell. So let's move along to secular organizations for sobriety, also known as Save Ourselves with an acronym SOS, and they are headquartered in Hollywood, California. Thankfully, there's no addictive behavior in Hollywood, California. So let's see, SOS was actually established in 1985. They are international in scope with meetings held around the world. They take a self-empowerment approach to recovery. They address sobriety and abstinence as priority 1, no matter what. And SOS credits the individual for achieving and maintaining their own sobriety. They respect recovery in any form. They're not opposed to or in competition with any other recovery program. And they support healthy skepticism and encourage the use of the scientific method to understand addictive disorders. So now they have suggested guidelines for sobriety, which include to break the cycle of denial and achieve sobriety, we first acknowledge that we are alcoholics or addicts. And then we reaffirm this truth daily and acknowledge that without reservation, that as clean and sober individuals, we cannot and do not drink or use no matter what. And then since drinking or using is not going to be an option for us, we take whatever steps are necessary to continue our sobriety priority lifelong. Now, a quality of life, known as the good life, can be achieved. However, life is also filled with uncertainties. So therefore, we do not drink or use, again, regardless of any feelings, circumstances, or conflicts. SOS shares in confidence with each other, their thoughts and feelings as sober and clean individuals. And sobriety is our priority. We are each responsible for our lives and our sobriety. So that's SOS. And let's review Women for Sobriety. They are headquartered in Quakertown, Pennsylvania. And as you might guess from the title, they are, in fact, a group solely for women. They were established in 1976. They are self-help programs specifically for women with problems of addiction. And they are the first and only self-help program accounting for the special problems that women have in recovery, specifically the need for feelings of self-value and self-worth, and the need to expiate feelings of guilt and humiliation. Their purpose is to help all women with addiction through the discovery of self, gained by sharing experiences, hope, and encouragement with other women in similar circumstances. WFS offers face-to-face and online meetings and message boards. They have a very non-judgmental atmosphere. They use coping tools from original WFS literature, and they publish a monthly Sobering Thoughts newsletter. Their focus is on emotional and spiritual growth, and each woman's personal spiritual journey is welcome. They have this wonderful New Life Acceptance Program. And I'm going to go through this. I'm going to read what's in orange, and I'd love to have you go back, though, at some point and read what's in white, the little subtitles, because it's really, really neat stuff. So their New Life Acceptance Program includes the fact that I have a life-threatening problem that once had me. Negative thoughts destroy only myself. Happiness is a habit I will develop. Problems bother me only to the degree I permit them to. I am what I think. I am going to read the little subtitle there because this is sort of their mantra. I am a capable, competent, caring, compassionate woman. And I know anytime I get an email from Becky at WFS, she always says, thank you, Sherry, for being a capable, competent, caring, and compassionate woman. So I'm fond of that. Life can be ordinary or it can be great. Love can change the course of my world. The fundamental object of life is emotional and spiritual growth. The past is gone forever. All love given returns. Enthusiasm is my daily exercise. I am a competent woman and have much to give life. I am responsible for myself and my actions. That's Women for Sobriety, WFS, in a nutshell. Now, I want to also mention that there are really a growing number of religious-oriented support groups. So in addition to AA, these are religiously based, and then this is also available to your clients in addition to the other programs we just reviewed. Those include Celebrate Recovery, which is a Christian organization, Alcoholics Victorious, also Christian, Buddhists in Recovery is an organization for Buddhists. And then we have the JACS, which is Jewish Alcoholics, Chemically Dependent Persons, and Significant Others. Thank goodness for the acronym. So we've got a Jewish-oriented group as well. So really, if you have clients with devout religious beliefs, they might benefit from one of these programs or AA as well. Okay, it is time for another quick poll. I think it's fair to assume that each of you was previously familiar with AA prior to today, plus this little poll would only allow us to have 5 options. So, prior to today, which of the following groups were you familiar with? And you can select all that apply. LifeRing, Moderation Management, SOS, SMART, or Women for Sobriety. And by the way, if you were not familiar with any of them, that's okay. That's why we're here today, to try to help you get acquainted with more choices for your clients. So be honest, check only what you were previously familiar with. Oh, okay, here we go. Misty's in the background doing her magic again. So let's see here. Okay, so some of you had heard of LifeRing, some of Moderation Management. Lots of you SMART Recovery. SOS, a good amount, and Women for Sobriety. This is excellent because I have a feeling if we had done this event a couple of years ago, those what we just learned there would have been smaller percentage of you would have known about these various groups. So I appreciate that as well. Okay, so now let's do a mutual support group comparison. And I just again want to mention this is not a contest. There is truly a need for all of these various programs we've reviewed. I think that all of us would be actually happy to go out of business if the need no longer existed. But really, unfortunately, it seems to me that the need seems to be growing versus diminishing. So let's do some comparisons here. So what are the goals of the programs? With the exception of Moderation Management, each of our organizations strive to help people to abstain from drinking or drugging, and even MM supports abstinence for those for whom it's most effective. So each program addresses drinking and drugging. SMART also addresses some other behavioral issues, but I think that the moral of the story is that each of our organizations is truly committed to helping people overcome their problem behavior. We all have the same goals at heart, which is to help people to recover. And let's take a look at some of the main techniques, and hopefully as we reviewed some of the programs a bit ago, you sort of picked up on the fact that there are definitely some variations in the techniques that the programs use. AA uses their 12-step program and reliance on a higher power. You know, LifeRing is far more self-empowerment, has a strong self-empowerment component. The MM Moderation Management relies on self-monitoring and lifestyle balance, and then they of course also have a variety of tools to help individuals track their drinking patterns to make sure they're still on track. SOS relies on the priority one concept: I'm not going to drink or use no matter what. Smart Recovery employs the 4-point program, and WFS has their self-empowerment and spiritual growth component and their New Life acceptance program. Is it a habit or a disease? You're going to see that there's some variation as to what the various programs believe. 3 have noted that we have no opinion. It's determined by individual members. I can tell you, just interestingly from Smart Recovery's standpoint, about 30% of our participants believe it's a disease, 40% don't, and the other 30% aren't sure. So our stance is whether or not you believe it's a disease, the Smart Recovery program can work for you. And I think it was the founder of Rational Recovery who likes to say, whether or not you think it's a disease, you better heck quit drinking. So, and then the optimal length of program participation comparison. Just looking here, you'll see that, you know, AA generally recommends a lifetime or as needed, and then LifeRing varies 6 to 24 months, and then as needed. MM generally 6 to 18 months. SOS and SMART, you know, actually for all of us, I think it's safe to say that we'd all agree that it's up to the individual. It's personal choice of the individual, and it will vary based on when they feel comfortable about moving on. None of our programs say that you're going to come to our program and within 12 months or 18 months you are going to be cured and on your way and you will no longer need the program. And we all welcome people to return to our group as needed over time if they've graduated and moved on, but they feel down the road they'd either like to help others or would do well to just sort of touch base again and shore up their recovery tools. They're all welcome to return to any of these programs. The emphasis on social support comparison. When we first started, we talked a little bit about the importance of social linkage and the fact that every support group provides social linkage, which is really, really key to people's well-being. But you'll see that the social support emphasis varies a little bit from organization to organization. You know, AA utilizes the higher power. The rest of the organizations are more self-empowerment oriented. But the level of social support is going to vary a little bit between the various programs. And so you'll see there's a strong component with Women for Sobriety as well. They have a lot of emphasis on social support. I have found that some of our Smart Recovery face-to-face meeting facilitators have begun doing some social outings, like doing a night of bowling or having a potluck dinner, just helping people to begin to become comfortable in social settings that are alcohol-free. So, you know, also, I want to point out that a lot of social support is provided via online services of each of these organizations. You know, there are 24/7 chat rooms, so if somebody is feeling a need to reach out and feel a part of a community and socialize with others, where literally each of these groups is a mouse click away. Sponsorship comparison. Only AA and the NA program require or provide a sponsor. In the other organizations, we find that friendships are established, but the concept of self-reliance versus reliance on a higher power or another individual is key to those other organizations. Spiritual and religious emphasis comparison. You know, with AA and NA's reliance on a higher power, you know, it's pretty essential to have a spiritual component within that program. For the other programs, your spiritual beliefs or lack of beliefs are really entirely up to you. And if you choose to combine your faith with these other programs, you're welcome to do so, but it's not going to be a component of the program. And even Women for Sobriety, they have an emphasis on spiritual growth, but they don't have a religious emphasis. They aren't solely Christian or Buddhist or whatever. They leave that up to the individual. All right, optimal number of meetings per week. I don't know that any of us would actually, again, proclaim that this is the optimal number of meetings, but this is what we find that our participants how often they tend to attend meetings. So again, it's especially important to remember that the non-12-step meetings all have online programs and online meetings, because there might not be 2 or 3 or 1 or 3 local meetings, but they can achieve online meetings on a daily basis. In fact, right now Smart Recovery has 26 online meetings each week. And the same is true for the others. They all have growing online meetings that are available if there aren't local community meetings. Group size comparison. Again, we're not in competition here, but overall AA meetings are definitely far more widely available, and they're more highly attended than the other program choices. The group size tends to vary between 5 and 15 with the non-12-step programs. There's one difference. Our online meetings, the Smart Recovery online meetings, we have a meeting room cap at 35, and they are all generally filled to capacity several minutes before the meeting gets underway. This is a personal opinion. I'm not speaking on behalf of Smart Recovery or my colleagues at other organizations, but I think it's sort of beneficial to have smaller groups in the case of the non-12-step meetings, because tools are being shared. There's a lot of crosstalk amongst the participants. So I don't think bigger is necessarily better. Sometimes small and more intimate can actually, I believe, be helpful. Cost comparison. Hey, we all agree across the board here. We all rely on donations. We all offer free meetings, but we pass the hat at meetings for contributions. And one thing to keep in mind, too, is that we're all 501c3 nonprofit organizations, so we do have other avenues and revenue streams for additional income that help keep our organizations afloat. But again, the meetings rely totally on the generosity of those who attend, and then what they use to collect, they use to help meet their local expenses, such as meeting room rental, phone line, publicity, etc. Okay, so for more information, don't hesitate to contact me. You can type in questions. We're going to be answering those questions. Don't hesitate to contact any of the organizations that we've discussed here. But we also have this excellent resource for you. It's going to be available on the NADAC website for this webinar website. It's a flyer that outlines each of the programs, the non-12-step programs I described to you today. The front reads, "Are drinking and drugging becoming a problem for you or a loved one?" And that it's it's meant to be a very non-threatening and welcoming, and it's a good way to acquaint your clients with what's available. Okay, moving along, selecting mutual support groups. So now you know the variety of programs, and let's begin to explore how you're going to help your clients select a group or groups, again, that are going to be best suited for them. To begin with, if you know an individual has already had some success with a support group and they haven't been going, you might want to simply remind them that the group is still available. And that may be the only intervention you need to get them hooked up again with the group that was helpful to them. Now, individuals who have not attended a support group should be advised about all of their available groups that are local, and if there aren't meetings locally, please advise them to consider the online version of those that aren't available. And then you can help to create an informed and assertive client by sharing the support group options. However, keep in mind that the best outcome will be if or when the person selects the program that best matches their needs and beliefs. So make it clear to the client that they have the right to make a decision whether or not they attend support groups, and then which group or groups they choose to attend. So again, make sure your client knows that he or she has the right to choose. And then it's very helpful if you can provide your client with some written information about the treatment and support groups that are available. And that flyer would be a great and simple handout. Encourage your clients to visit a variety of the groups in our websites and help them make an informed decision. And you might also want to mention to them or speak with them about how he or she is going to assess whether that self-help support group is being helpful to them. Okay, so now let's quickly review a list of questions that you might want to ask your clients in order to help the person determine which group or groups would be the best fit for them. Now, not everything on this list is going to be applicable for each of your clients, so just sort of keep these things in mind as you're helping them select a group. Some might feel that it's important that the group have experience with their primary drug. They may want to have the same gender. They may want people who are close to their own age or share their ethnic or cultural background. It may be important to them that the people share their views on religion or spirituality or secularity. They may wish to have a group that shares their sexual orientation. Smoking tobacco, you know, I'm not sure if that even remains on the list because probably all of the public meeting spaces are smoke-free now anyway. So, but anyway, some people may be looking for socially accessible help outside of the meetings, you know, the ability to meet people for coffee or speak with a sponsor on the phone. People may be looking for a meeting that has tolerant attitudes toward mental illness. I hope we all do. I believe we all do. Or have tolerant attitudes toward medications prescribed for addiction or mental illness. They may be looking for meetings where people have experience in the criminal justice system, or they may be looking for meetings where there aren't folks who have been incarcerated. Then there are other things like income level, whether or not they've had severe or not so severe alcohol or drug problems, whether or not they share the goal of complete abstinence or moderated use. All of those questions would come into play when you're helping to guide your client to all of their recovery options. So it may seem a little uncomfortable to pose a question about your client's religious beliefs and preferences, but it really is important because there is some evidence to suggest that individuals with strong religious beliefs may prefer this 12-step approach or those other religious approaches that we were reviewing before. And then individuals with external locus of control may also prefer a 12-step approach, whereas atheists, agnostics, or others may prefer a secular group. And then also individuals with a more internal locus of control may prefer a self-empowering support group as well. Oops, I'm sorry, because I was just, I am so sorry. Okay, I wanted to just mention one other thing. I lost my forward and backward again, but it's okay. There was a study published in 2007, Religiosity and Participation in Mutual Aid Support Groups for Addiction. The subjects in the study included participants from Smart Recovery, Women for Sobriety, SOS, and 12-step participants. So the purpose was to try to identify key differences between participants in recovery groups. Now, not surprisingly, the results indicate that active involvement in any support group significantly improves the chances of remaining clean and sober. We actually discussed that at the beginning of this presentation. But now, subjects whose religious beliefs or absence of religious beliefs better matched those of their primary support group showed greater levels of group participation, which resulted in better outcomes as measured by increased number of days clean and sober. So again, be sure to inquire about the religious background and faith background of your clients and try to hook them up based on those opportunities as well. Okay. These are simple reminders, but they can make a big difference for your clients as well. If a mutual support group of choice is not available in the area, encourage your client to utilize the online meetings available for each organization, or you can encourage them to start a meeting of his or her choice in the community. You know, once they become stable in their sobriety, I know at Smart Recovery we have a distance training program to facilitate meeting facilitators, and I think the other organizations do as well. So even though there might not be a community meeting now, they can use the program online and start a community meeting. It's important for you to remain personally knowledgeable and try to keep up to date on established and new recovery support groups. And then it's important that you inform your clients of the variety of mutual support group options and don't just tell them about your favorite, or don't assume that you think that Women for Sobriety is going to be perfect for Betsy. Make sure that Betsy knows all of the recovery support group options that she has, and then she can feel free to select from those. Then encourage your clients to use the computer as a resource. There really is a wealth of information about recovery programs available on the web. And it's also helpful if your client indicates that he or she has selected a group, if it's possible for you, try to help pave the way for his attendance or participation. Be a little human connection between the client and the support group. Whether it's an introductory call with the client to one of our offices or attending the first meeting with your client, anything you can do to help get them involved in a mutual support group is going to be beneficial in so many ways for them. There are two more really excellent resources that I don't have a slide on this, but there is a book called Sober for Good, New Solutions for Drinking Problems, Advice from Those Who Have Succeeded. But just write down Sober for Good, because when you Google or Amazon search on that, you're going to find it. It's authored by Ann Fletcher, and Ann actually interviewed what she refers to as masters from each of the programs we discussed today. And these are people who had 5 or more years of sobriety based on using each of the programs we reviewed today. And I think it's really helpful. It would give you a little deeper understanding of each of these programs, and it would give you a personal story for each of these programs of how and why that program was effective for that individual. So I think that would be an excellent resource for you, and it would be a good resource for your clients as well. So Sober for Good is definitely something that would be helpful for them to become aware of. Now, there's also an organization called Faces and Voices of Recovery, and they have an excellent resource listing on their website. And rather than read their website to you, if you download that flyer, which again, Misty has kindly put that flyer that talks about all of our groups, the alternative programs on the flyer. It also lists the Faces and Voices of Recovery, and it gives you a link to their website and their resource list. So that is another really excellent resource that you'll want to keep in mind. Okay, now we are going to come to the final poll. Now the poll isn't going to actually pop up for you here. We're going to ask you to kindly type over in the chat box what was the most important thing that you learned today, something that you're going to take away with you. Now, we're not going to be able to see the results, but Misty is going to compile those, and I think it'll be really helpful to me because when I see what you found most helpful, I'm hoping to have the opportunity to present this again to various groups, and I might want to put a little more emphasis in one area than another based on what you folks kindly share with us. So I'll give you a moment to think about and type in the chat box the thing that was the most important that you learned today that you'll take with you. So, I have to admit, let's go. I can change this slide. I think I can. Okay, here we go. And a reminder also that you should feel free to ask questions. You can send them via email to myself or to Misty at the email address is shown on your screen there. Misty is compiling all the questions, and she will also post those to the questions and answers to the website. And you can feel free to ask questions about the organizations outside of Smart Recovery, because I have colleagues at each of those organizations that I will go to get your question answered if it's something that I can't answer myself. So do not hesitate to ask questions. We will be looking forward to responding to those and posting those on the website. And I would like to thank you so very much for attending today. I know there's been a lot of information I tried to cram within an hour here, but it's really been a pleasure for me to share some time with you today. And I am going to turn the program back over to Misty. I also want to say a huge thanks to Misty because she makes this webinar process about as comfortable as it possibly can be for somebody like me who's not terribly comfortable with webinar presentation. So she's just been a total joy to work with. And the other thing is, I am actually, it sounds sort of rude, it's like eat and run, but in this case it's going to be present and run, because I am going to hop in my car, my bags are packed, I am going to Philadelphia to attend the Faces and Voices of Recovery Executive Directors Leadership Conference. So I hate to cut out on you here, but I need to make a flight. And stay tuned because Misty's got all sorts of good stuff for you, again, about this continuing education units and upcoming free webinars, etc. So, Misty, I will turn it back over to you. And again, thank you so much.
Sherry, thank you so much. You are just as much of a joy to work with. I appreciate you so much, and I learned an enormous amount of stuff through this webinar. So rest assured that you did a fantastic job on your flight, so have a great day. For everybody else that's out there, go ahead and keep submitting questions, as Sherry said, and we'll go and collect all of those and post them up on the website. Just to be respectful of Sherry's donated time, just give us a few weeks to get all those questions together and posted because she's got a lot of other things going on, obviously. So in the next few minutes, just sit back, and I want to tell you about some upcoming webinars that NADAC has planned for the remainder of the year. We've got coming up next is Spirituality and Recovery, the Art and Science of Healing on December the 12th. And then the 2013 webinar series schedule is under development right now and will be released soon. We've got many exciting topics planned, such as recovery-oriented practices and skills, ethics, HIV/AIDS, trauma, marijuana, many, many more. So visit our website for full details. All these webinars will be available for CE credit, and you can register there on our website at nadac.org/education/webinars. And in case you missed one of our previously broadcasted webinars, we have all of them archived for free, so you can watch at your convenience. These topics range from SBIRT and medication-assisted recovery, SAP DOT qualification, ethics, the DSM-5 changes that are proposed, ACM placement criteria, co-occurring disorders, and many, many more. And also, participants can still gain CE credit by watching these archived webinars. You simply just watch and then earn the credit for as many webinars as you want by passing the online CE quiz after you download it and watch the webinar. So check our website out for a full listing of those. And there's many more educational opportunities and resources that are available on our website, nadac.org, including free online courses. There's face-to-face seminars, independent study courses. We have a master calendar of events around in your area. I encourage you to set aside some time just to browse and take advantage of these free opportunities that are available to you, regardless of whether you're a member or not. And just one more time for those latecomers, if you wish to receive CE credit for participating today, you must pass the online CE quiz that's located at nadac.org/education/webinars. Certificates are free to NADAC members and AccuCare subscribers. Otherwise, they're $15. This applies to those who are logged in today for the live presentation and for those who are watching the archived version. As Sherry said, if you didn't get all of your questions answered on this topic, you're welcome to contact myself or Sherry through the contact information on your screen. Questions regarding AccuCare can be directed to myaccucare.com. Finally, when you close the viewing window for this live webinar, a new window will automatically pop up where you'll have the opportunity to provide us with some feedback about the webinar series. Please just take a few moments to either help us improve or maybe praise our presenter. So with that, I will conclude today's webinar, and thank you again for joining us. I hope you have a fantastic day.